So I'm going to ask something that I know is probably the least popular thing to ask on the internet right now, but here it goes. Should Keanu Reeves really be in Cyberpunk 2077? Like I said, unpopular, sure, but let me frame this question a little better for you. The economics of the video game industry are complex and confusing. Besides its already unreasonably harsh, high-turnover working conditions, budgets, specifically AAA budgets, are rising, but price points falling. There may be more people playing video games than ever, but there are also more and cheaper ways to purchase video games than ever. Steep sales are now annual, regular occurrences across multiple online platforms, and subscription services like Xbox Game Pass and the upcoming Google Stadia provide access to hundreds of games on demand. The free-to-play model has become a legitimate business, especially among smaller studios. This economic uncertainty begs the question, among other things, of whether or not secondary monetization schemes like loot boxes, pre-order bonuses, and microtransactions are necessary for the industry to survive, or if they only exist as additional and very profitable revenue streams. Now, on their own, companies simply having additional revenue streams isn't a problem. The problem arrives when microtransactions and loot boxes compromise the quality and integrity of the games they're in. So are microtransactions and the like absolutely needed, or are they just nice? I don't know if there's a clear answer. The games industry is famously stingy when it comes to disclosing budgets and pay, which makes a discussion about what constitutes sensible game development expenses exceedingly difficult. But I also think it's a discussion we should have. Kotaku's Jason Schreier once reported that a common industry rule of thumb for budgeting is $10,000 per person per month, which includes costs like salary, office rent, insurance, and equipment. Importantly, that number doesn't include marketing. In 2018, Ralph Koster, formerly designer for Ultima Online and creative director for Star Wars Galaxies, published a study of 250 game budgets, some collected on his own and others from industry sources. According to Koster, the majority of games cost under $50 million to develop, though many AAA budgets will easily clear that. Koster's numbers, like Schreier's, don't include marketing, and he estimates you could generally increase a game's development budget by 75 to 100% to make room for marketing costs. Suffice it to say, games are expensive. Now, does Electronic Arts absolutely really need microtransactions in FIFA to make a profit and be a sustainable business? I find that very hard to believe, but I also believe there are reasonable ways developers can use microtransactions as a viable way to generate revenue, specifically when it comes to smaller developers and publishers. Taking all this in mind, let's return to what I asked at the beginning of this video, but change it around a bit. Video games are expensive, that much is undeniable, but are they so expensive that paying well-known actors and celebrities is financially impractical? And if so, why do it? As I said, this is an extremely tricky question to navigate. Not only is it tough to find solid info on game budgets, but also on how much voice actors are paid, let alone what high-profile actors and celebrities charge for appearing in games. In 2016, SAG-AFTRA, one of Hollywood's more prominent unions, declared a strike against a few AAA companies, including Activision, EA, and Take-Two. The two sides ended the strike about a year later, agreeing to a deal that, according to the Washington Post, raised the union's minimum wage to about $850 for a 4-hour session. Sounds nice until you factor in high living expenses for the San Francisco Bay Area, where many AAA games are developed. What's more is that even while the game industry is just as, if not more lucrative than other forms of entertainment, game actors don't get paid residuals, while film and TV actors do. The point is, acting in games isn't an easy business, and it's not anywhere near as well paying as other acting gigs. So is it possible that well-known actors and celebrities are paid relatively similar rates as their lesser-known counterparts? Yeah, it's possible, but also unintuitive. Renowned actor Gary Oldman played, among other voiceover work, Victor Reznov in Call of Duty World at War and Black Ops. Appearing on The Graham Norton Show, Oldman said of his voiceover work,
"Yeah, I mean, it's 4 days in a studio, and you literally scream your head off. I mean, I've never shouted so much you have to do it in like 4-minute bursts, because there's all the sort of variables that the directives that the player can go. So you have to give them all the options. And they have this thing which is battle cry, which is your voice, but it's over music and battle sounds. So it literally is a scream fest for about 4 days.
It just wouldn't make sense if Oldman was compensated for his work the same way lesser-known voice actors are. But again, it's possible. Without concrete numbers and contracts, we just can't rule out that high-profile actors work for the same pay as lesser-known performers, at least when it comes to appearing in games, or that the interest they drive makes up for whatever it costs to include them. And all this applies to Reeves in Cyberpunk 2077. Is his inclusion an unreasonable burden on Cyberpunk's budget? We'll never know for sure, barring CD Projekt Red releases the game's budget. This is an issue without much hard data, but it's an issue I think is important to discuss nonetheless, if not at least for the sake of awareness. Good acting in games matters, whether it be voiceover work, motion capture, or a mixture of the two. Good acting elevates the stories games tell to the same degree it does film or television. Actors from Keanu Reeves to Red Dead 2's Roger Clark, who played Arthur Morgan, should work in ethical environments and be paid fair wage for their work. But AAA companies should also be scrutinized for how they monetize their games, and whether or not those monetization schemes are actually essential.